off to the races, just like our dear sweet father, Bernard, and all of his brethren. You know, he's out of the gate now, folks. He's running. All of the indications were there, all of the signs and portends, and now that thing that we've all prayed for has finally come to pass.
Sir, prepare to receive harassment orders.
Bernie has declared his candidacy this week, and quite frankly, we're all here for it. And more importantly, we are also here for all of the cirrus, drama, and just straight up tea that's going to go down as a result of 2016, the sequel, Redux 2020, Bernie.
Here we go again.
We are marching over the glass ceiling in his revolution.
And so my message to start off the show is Bernie's in the race. You know how we feel about that. We've placed our chips down all in on Bernard. He's in the race, and it's time to tool up. And those of you who are dreading this conflict are weak. Those of you who are saying, I can't believe we have to live through another 20 months of like the stupidest online discourse imaginable, not to mention the broader media discourse. But I say, actually, it's good, and we love it.
Let me nip this in the bud. I've heard it from, friends that, oh, I like Bernie, I agree with Bernie, and I don't doubt that. But they say, I just wish he wouldn't run again because, of all the drama that's going to create. And I got to tell you, you have posters cowardice right now. You have shell shock. You're that guy in the World War I picture with the big wide eyes. Like somebody needs to slap you across the face and tell you to get back in there.
Yeah, like we're General Patton and we're hitting you and saying that you're a coward, basically. And you are in this place of honor among these wounded warriors, and you're saying that you have poster shock. Get out back on the battlefield, coward. And I just want to say, like, since 2016, it's gotten better. I mean, you should be thrilled to be in this position that you're in now, because our opponents, since 2016, their brains have become even more pudding-like and soft and watery, and our brains have gotten incomparably stronger through a strict regimen of posting, drug use, Fortnite,
polyamory.
We have honed our minds into a weapon, and now it is time to go to war. So let's see, where do you want to begin with Bernie?
Ooh, I like Clara Jeffrey's post. Do you remember that one?
Remind me.
This is Clara Jeffrey, editor of Mother Jones. A very early test for Bernie is if he and his surrogates speak out loudly and repeatedly against supporters doling out online abuse in his name. If he/they do, he's serious about being more than a purist spoiler. If not, ... Just ends there.
If he's serious about not talking about anything other than Bernie cheaping 420, sending me pictures of corn cobs, then he's serious. If he just spends his day as basically Twitter tech support, yelling at a bunch of stoners, then he's serious.
She wants to speak to the manager of the Bernie Sanders campaign. Do you know what your employees have been saying to me?
But the day...
Also, you can't be a spoiler if you run in the fucking party, by definition.
I think these people, we've mentioned it before with Weigel. I think what these people really want is for Bernie to run as an independent candidate in the general election. They would love that.
Yeah, they want that just so that they can yell at him all the time. That's all, and the people who vote for him.
But Claire's a good example of what you're talking about, Will. Your opponents, they've gotten weaker at the posting wars.
And yeah, I know, and you are strong now. We've been training. This is the day we've all been training for is here. You thought I was mad. What you call hell, we call home.
And that's one of the great things of, marching in Bernie's army is that there's no Geneva Convention. It is just more fun. My friend was telling me earlier today, it's great being a Bernie bro. You get to dunk on people, say whatever you want. And he's right. Why not join the winning team?
Well,
honestly, they just sound a lot like the mealy mouth never Trump people from May 2016. It's like you realize everyone on the Trump train is having way more fun than you, right? Or the fucking anyone who's calls himself a conservative right now and isn't full QAnon Pizzagate. Like, that's the fun stuff.
I did like on the day it was announced, it was like, as I forget who said, I think it was Crushing Bort said, that day was like D-Day for resistance wine moms. And they were manning the pillboxes on Utah Beach. But what I loved about Bernie Day, B Day, if you will, was just the flood of posts that were just like B asterisk RNIE woke up content warning B Ernie content CW B. Yeah, just as Matt alluded to, just like people who were confessing that they had spent all morning at their therapist's office because Bernie announced he was entering the presidential race, and they all had flashbacks to 2016. And I'm like, yeah, no, we've been living in the flashback. We love the flashbacks.
You only adopted posting. We were born into it, molded by it. By the time I saw pig poop bars, I was already a man.
I want to talk about another. It just all the favorites are coming back, and this is just the eternal recurrence of 2016. And I'm saying, get used to it. All the same people are going to be there. We're going to be there.
All the stars are here.
And so Bernie, within 24 hours of announcing, what was his haul in funds raised in one day? It was
$5.9 million.
$5.9 million from around 200,000 individual donors, which is incredibly impressive.
Yeah. Not as much as Ron Paul made in one day in 2007, though.
How much did he make?
It was over $6 million.
Okay, well, still very impressive nonetheless.
It's hard to give.
Yeah, but none of this is Krugerrands or doubloons or anything.
I was just going to say it's hard to give small numbers donations in pieces of gold.
Certainly,
Ron Paul, the most Iraqi dinars raised in a single day.
Well, Sanders has certainly lapped all of the other Democratic contenders in terms of a one-day money-raising haul since his announcement.
So far, yeah, but that's like one Carlos Slim donation.
Yeah. And, again, but he is maintaining a very good pull from small donations from a lot of individual donors.
Yeah, I mean, the numbers are pretty staggering, and it's pretty clear that he is or should be considered the front runner of this race right now.
Yeah, so to deal with that fact, you're going to have a take on this. Like, the money, the numbers looking pretty good for Bernard. So here is old favorite Amanda Marcotte.
Oh, yeah.
Who
I
says,
think she blurbed our book.
She says, of course, Bernie's fundraising isn't really a surprise. His base of support is well-off white guys who have some cash to spare and are really hyped up to box out the up-and-coming candidates. But I suspect the other, mostly female frontrunners, may have a quiet advantage. The same women who put in the time and shoe leather that won the Democrats the 2018 midterms. Women may not have as much money to give, but they've been better at organizing and putting in the work. And I love it because immediately everyone pointed out to her that the average donation was $27. And she's like, yeah, that's like I'm saying, like, what a rich person could afford to give. And, once again, this is based on nothing. This is completely not borne out by any, data or facts about who's giving what and how much.
It's from her mind fantasy of just sitting down and imagining things you don't like, which is what most of these people do every day. I just imagine a giant mental hospital where everyone has Bernie-related PTSD. So it's real, and it's a thing I saw.
But, I mean, it's also great because it's deeply offensive to, anyone who's not a white guy who gave money to Bernie.
Not a rich white guy.
Yeah, not a rich white guy who gave money to Bernie. And I also liked, what's his name? Orc Cop, Bright, Mr. Adam Pachinko Machine.
Oh, he had a good one.
Yeah, he had a good one where he was like, he just responded, who the fuck cares? And then someone replied, I don't know, around 200,000 people. And then he was like, fuck off. You're under arrest, sir. And the thing I like about Adam Orc Cop Bright is that like he managed to sort of brown nose his way into like a completely bullshit make work job on the Hillary campaign, just knowing deep inside him that he would be in the White House.
If you haven't heard our Adam Pachinko machine takedown, we'll put in the episode description which one it was. But that was one of my favorite segments we've done on this show, when he ran for a seat in like the Virginia State House and was endorsed by Bill Clinton because, you know, Clinton always pays his debts, and came like fourth in a field of 6 people in the primary.
So he's doing good. And again, just a lot of people are dealing with Sanders entering the presidential race in exactly the way you would expect them to, which is, again, reliving all of their traumas of having to live in a country that experienced an election several years ago. And the other thing I really like about Amanda's take on Bernie's average donation being, you know, indicative of what his wealthy white base of support is that it is still less than the average donation of every other Democratic contender, including Kamala Harris, whose average donation is like $38. That's $10 higher, which means her fans are $10 richer than the average Bernie supporter.
Well, I like the implication, or I guess she makes it pretty explicit, that the white bros donated money to Bernie's campaign in order to box out the female candidates, which I'm not sure how that works.
Well, by supporting a candidate who they prefer to the other candidates, they're boxing out the other candidates. And boxing...
They're doing violence to the other candidates.
Yeah, exactly. When I don't, you know, if you donated money, I hope you were thinking, oh, I can't wait to what this does to the other candidates.
There is one star who won't be back on the anti-Bernie bandwagon this time around. I'm talking, of course, about friend of the show, Peter Dow, who's made a complete face turn.
We've recruited him. We've recruited him through a parallax view style brainwashing, but the Agent Dow has been activated. And he is in the field. He is in country on mission right now. We cannot say where or what his mission is, but the Dow has been activated.
Yeah, but you know,
we showed him a Varick code like in Manchurian Candidate, and like that was the trigger.
You know, when people on the left say, you know, oh, I like Bernie, but I don't want him to run because of the arguments he'll cause, it's because they're afraid of being upbraided by people like Amanda Marcotte.
Why? It's fun.
They don't want to be dude bros.
And
they don't want to be defined as a dude bro or a lady dude bro.
Right. And my message to them is, you know, you should not derive your self-worth by being liked, by getting attention, pats on the head by people like Amanda Marcotte. You should act like a normal person and derive your self-worth from getting attention from podcasters.
But also to your point, Virgil, about all of the people who, content warning, Bernie, who are very shocked and appalled by this. I mean, there's an easy solution to their problems and their feelings of fear and doubt, and that is just supporting Bernie and getting on the winning team.
Yeah.
Like, if they're afraid of winning and losing an election again, just choose the winner this time.
Yeah, that's really it. So, like, all of this goes back to 2016 and how, like, pretty much none of these people really know the true story of 2016 and exactly why Hillary Clinton lost. Probably the majority of them suspect, whether or not they'll admit it publicly, that Russia somehow hacked the vote totals and caused her to lose. They think, but their mono cause here is that the Bernie supporters who had been riled up by Bernie and, presumably, taking orders from him in some way, they deliberately either voted third party or voted for Trump, but they otherwise stayed home and didn't vote for Hillary Clinton. And that's not true. That's not correct. There's reams of evidence that suggest otherwise. But they believe it's not just these people, but that nobody would have disliked Hillary Clinton or her policies had Bernie not existed.
That's a very important point, Virgil, because when you read these people's things and you sort of absorb their, I'm going to say, real and deeply felt anger at Bernie Sanders because of what he supposedly did in the 2016 election, the gigantic shibboleth that they've erected is this idea that Bernie was a spoiler candidate and that he damaged Hillary such that that he made his voters stay home, and that he damaged her enough in the general election that Trump was able to sneak by with a victory. And there's a couple things to say about that. One, whatever I think there was whatever percentage of Sanders primary voters actually voted for Trump. And I got to say, if you did vote for Bernie in the primary and Trump in the general, you're a fucking dunce and should not be allowed to vote in any future elections. But it was a negligible number, and more importantly, a vastly smaller percentage than the number of Hillary Clinton primary voters who voted McCain in 2008, which varies from, according to exit polls, around 15% to, according to the Washington Post, as much as 25% of Hillary Clinton primary voters in 2008. Point number two that I'd like to make about this idea that Bernie damaged Hillary. And we're seeing this from surrogates like David Brock and Neera Tanden, who are like, well, Bernie's in the race now, so I just want to say, let's have a clean, fair fight based on ideas and not personal attacks. Bernie did not launch a personal attack at Hillary Clinton even once. He did not even run negative ads against Hillary Clinton. He gave her the most kid gloves treatment that any close primary race in the Democratic Party's history, probably. Let's contrast that with Hillary Clinton's treatment of Barack Obama in 2008, which was a scorched earth, racist, white working class campaign, of which she stayed in far past being mathematically eliminated because, according to her, you never know what might happen, i.e. Robert Kennedy. So let's just remember that.
I mean, Bernie stopped a primary debate to come to Hillary's defense on what would become her key weakness issue in the general election.
Enough really with the damn emails. That's what he said.
The American people don't want to hear about the emails. And then what these people are really saying, though, is they're saying Bernie made Hillary toxic in a general election by drawing a contrast between his politics and hers in a way that made her seem unlikable, or him or his vision of the world preferable to hers. That is what they're talking about. This idea that they want to have a campaign based on ideas is horseshit. They will not accept anything other than complete and total capitulation from the left wing of their own party.
And I will say this. They believe that, in their conception, Bernie is some kind of foreign saboteur deposited to America. They think he's like, that propaganda poster of an incredibly Jewish Trotsky from the Bolshevik Revolution? That's pretty much how they view Bernie Sanders entering the Democratic primaries. And they think that he is instigated socialism, and he, is the sort of Pied Piper that led every young person to think, oh, Hillary's not cool, or her politics are regressive or reactionary. The thing is, what they don't realize is that if Bernie hadn't existed in 2016 and had just been a straight coronation for Hillary Clinton, one is that the people who like Bernie's campaign would have either stayed home anyway, or I actually think this is the case, quite a lot of them would have been seduced by Donald Trump's form of politics solely because he was the only candidate of any party who represented an actual break from the hell that we live in, even though his idea was to, more hell, just a different kind of, worse kind of hell.
Yeah, and again, this idea that they think it's we've talked about this before, these people think having a sense of humor is like a cheat code. They also think having politics that are attractive to young people or anyone whose soul hasn't been ritually removed from their bodies is also a cheat code. It's unfair of him to present a vision of politics that is appealing to voters, particularly young voters. And I think that's
because it's not going to happen. Because you're lying about it. That's their fundamental belief, is that you are lying when you propose anything beyond the barest incrementalism, because that's the only possible thing that can be accomplished in our system. And so you are cheating to the degree that you're willing to say things that you cannot and will not be able to back up in office.
And Matt, that is a perfect segue now to